Have you ever wondered why your silence unsettles people? Why the moment you stop explaining, they start accusing? Why your calm presence feels threatening? To those who used to feed off your reactions, it's because silence removes their control. And when your silence isn't just about being quiet, but about choosing sabr, choosing restraint, and choosing Allah, it becomes terrifying to the ones who thrive on chaos. They don't fear your words. They fear your discipline. They don't hate your voice. They hate your peace, because peace is the one thing they can't manipulate. And Allah says in the Quran, "And be patient over what they say, and avoid them with gracious avoidance." Surah Al-Muzammil, 73-10. That's not weakness. That's divine instruction. That's Allah telling you, you don't need to react to every insult, every test, every noise, because silence, when chosen for His sake, isn't emptiness, it's elevation. Scene 1. The hidden power of silence in today's world. Everyone is talking, arguing, posting, reacting, trying to have the last word, chasing the final say, defending their pride in comment sections and conversations. But very few stop to realize the spiritual weight of silence. Silence in Islam is not just about keeping your lips closed, it's about guarding your heart, your soul, and your akha. It's a conscious act, a decision to remove yourself from the noise that invites shaitan in, because every word that carries no benefit is a risk. Every careless sentence, every unnecessary argument, every reaction in anger or pride, it opens the door for shaitan to enter. He doesn't need you to commit a major sin. Sometimes, he just needs you to talk too much. But when you choose silence, especially when your ego is burning, when your heart wants to respond, to fight back, to scream, that's when your real strength is revealed. You're not running away, you're guarding your tongue like a soldier guards the gates of a city. You're saying, I value my peace more than this argument. I fear Allah more than I need to be right. And in that moment, silence becomes an act of worship. The Prophet said, "Whoever believes in Allah and the last day, let him speak good or remain silent." Bukhari and Muslim. This isn't just a wise saying, it's a shield, a protection from regret, from harming others, from falling into sin disguised as justified anger. Shaitan loves noise. He loves when you argue out of pride, when you backbite without realizing, when you speak just to be heard. But silence, chosen for the sake of Allah, becomes a sword. It cuts off Shaitan's whispers. It cools the fire of your ego, and it brings your soul back to Allah. Scene 2. When they can't read you anymore, there's something interesting that happens. When you choose silence, especially around people who used to feed off your reactions, they become uncomfortable, confused, restless, because your silence blocks their access. They can no longer read your emotions, no longer control your energy, no longer manipulate your reactions. You're not explaining anymore, not defending, not justifying, and that scares them. Some people don't seek truth, they seek control, and your silence, it steals that from them. They'll mock it, say things like, "You think you're better than us? Why are you so quiet? Why don't you say something?" But what they really mean is, why isn't this working anymore? Because your silence reveals their chaos. And your calm, your silence is a mirror, and what they see is their own insecurity. Let them speak, let them provoke, let them misunderstand. You don't need to fight every battle. You don't need to defend your soul to those who never cared to understand it, because your Lord knows who you are. Scene 3. Allah listens to what they can't hear. There are moments when the pain inside you is too deep for words. You sit in silence, not because you have nothing to say, but because what you feel can't be put into language. And in that silence, when the world thinks you've gone quiet, Allah is listening. People can only hear what leaves your lips, but Allah hears what never escapes your chest. He sees the tears that never fall. He understands the grief, the exhaustion, the battle you're fighting in silence. He knows what is within the hearts. Surah At-Taghabun 64-4. So what need is there to explain yourself to those who don't even want to understand? Your silence in that moment becomes a DOA. Your patience becomes a shield. Your trust in Allah becomes the loudest response. You don't need the world to validate your pain. Allah saw the night you cried. He knows the fire you swallowed when you stayed silent, and He rewards every second of it. Your silence speaks louder in the heavens than all the arguments on earth. Scene 4. Strength is choosing peace over ego in this world. Strength is often mistaken for volume, for comebacks, for proving you're right even when it costs your peace. People chase the last word like it's a trophy. They think silence means surrender, that walking away is weakness. But in the eyes of Allah, true strength isn't in how loudly you speak. It's in how gently you hold your tongue. It's in how calmly you choose peace over pride. The Prophet said, "I guarantee a house in Jannah for the one who gives up arguing, even if he is right." Abu Dawood. Let that sink in, because that hadith rewrites what power looks like. You don't lose when you stay silent. You rise. You don't lose when you let them win. You're honored by the one whose validation is eternal. Yes, your ego might ache. It wants justice. It wants to explain, to clarify, to be seen. But the heart finds freedom in letting go, and your soul, it doesn't grow from revenge. It grows from restraint. You begin to realize, I don't need to argue. I don't need to defend every detail. I don't need to lower myself to be heard. Not because you're weak, but because your strength is sacred. Because your silence now carries intention. Because Allah knows the truth, and that is enough. So next time you're pulled into conflict, next time your pride says, respond. Remember the real prize, not the argument, not the apology, not the upper hand, but a house in Jannah, for the one who walks away with dignity, with peace, with Allah in their heart. Scene 5. Your silence makes them watch, and, finally, know this: when you go silent intentionally, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom, you don't disappear. You become observed, not admired, not applauded, but watched closely, curiously, nervously, because silence, when it's rooted in purpose, feels like power. It unsettles people, especially those who are used to your vulnerability, your explanations, your need to be understood, your emotional availability. Now, you've shifted. You no longer over-explain. You no longer perform. You've gone inward award Allah, and to them. That's confusing, because people who thrive on attention can't handle mystery. They're not afraid of your noise. They're afraid of your peace. And when your silence is filled with dua, when your calm is built on conviction, you rise to a level they can't access. You see, they used to know how to press your buttons. Now, you've taken the remote away. And that power shift, it echoes louder than anything you could say. Whoever places their trust in Allah, He is sufficient for them. Surah At-Talaq 65-3. They don't know what's happening in your soul anymore. They can't track your emotions. They can't feed off your reactions. And that bothers them, because you're no longer predictable. You're no longer reactive. You're grounded. So let them watch. Let them guess. Let them wonder. You're not performing anymore. You're not accessible like you used to be. You've outgrown the stage where applause mattered. Now, your silence is a sanctuary, a shield, a statement. I've chosen Allah's approval over your attention. And from that moment on, they're not witnessing your breakdown. They're witnessing your becoming. Closing scene, quiet sunrise, dhikr beads, someone in sujood. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them try to pull you down with noise. But you, keep choosing peace. Keep choosing Allah. Keep choosing silence as worship, because when the world grows loud, the strongest voice is the one that whispers Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs. And in that silence, you are heard more than ever. Silence isn't empty, it's full of strength, full of worship, full of Allah.